Well, it finally happened. And yes, most of us thought it would happen at some point, but I, for one, certainly didn't expect it to happen quite this quickly, and certainly not without LSS announcing some sort of entry-level product to backfill it. That's right, folks, today's announcement, Welcome to Wrathe, is out of print. The last Welcome to Wrathe ever on its way to stores, and likely getting grabbed up by speculators before it gets there. So yeah, it kind of feels bad. And yeah, it is a bummer. Now again, I expected it to happen at some point. I did. But I didn't expect WTR, the entry point to the game and, in my humble opinion, the best set of fab, to go away without an announcement of some sort to a follow-up entry product. And while I have every confidence in LSS that there are plans on the horizon for entry-level or new player-friendly products in whatever form that product might take, the fact that such a product was not announced first really stinks. So yeah, while my overall take on WTR going away is not dissimilar to my reaction after the Arcane Rising announcement, that this is likely good news in the long run, it still feels bad. Really bad. So today, let's talk about WTR going out of print, short-term and long-term impacts, and what the future might hold.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. I'm Andrew. Thank you for joining me for our farewell WTR discussion and forecasting and whatever you want to call it this evening. So before we get into it, a couple bookkeeping small things. First off, you could probably already tell I have a bit of a cold. Sorry about that. I mean, obviously wasn't planning on shooting, but how are we not going to talk about this, right? So yeah. Anyway, so thanks for bearing with that and, you know, dealing with any breaks if I have to go bow by does, right? So thank you. And then the next part here is that, you know, a lot of what I've been thinking about today, getting ready to shoot this, is that and kind of over the last couple months too in Flesh and Blood, is there's an excellent chance that my fundamental perspective on this whole thing is incorrect, right? Like I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm acquiescing on that of, so what I mean by that is I have a mindset that if you want to attract new players, the best way to do that is by having a approachable and straightforward way to bring in new players. Obviously, we all want new players, right? Whether you're a collector, whether you're an investor, whether you're a player, those crazy players, right? Bringing in new players helps everybody, right? And like I said, I've always been of the mindset that offering simple and straightforward products to do that and good entry points is a successful way in doing that. However, maybe Fab is different, right? Maybe Flesh and Blood is, and when I say new players, right, everyone's like, oh, well, you're a new player, you're new to Fab, which is true, but I like to think about it from every perspective, which is we would like a new player who's new to gaming, right? Like, not everybody has to be a convert from some other game. And if you want to look at the true, like, long-term success of Flesh and Blood needs to have its own pipeline, not be reliant on other games to convert people, right? I mean, that's a pretty straightforward statement that is true. So, but maybe I have it wrong, right? Maybe their approach right now is simply just trying to convert people from other games, and thus the complexity at entry doesn't matter. And specifically the reason we're talking about that is, you know, it's very clear that Welcome to Wrathe is the best entry point. I mean, we've had, I just did my video, I think it was last week, about the top 5 heroes to start out with and grow with, and 3 of the 5 of them were from WTR, right? And I mean, I think that's relevant. And I mean, forever in this game, you know, I mean, well, not forever, but since, I mean, when WTR out was the only thing out, then it didn't matter. Not so much Arcane, but, you know, when Monarch came out, everyone was like, yeah, you know, if you're starting, you should probably just start with WTR. I mean, we've been saying that for a long time, right? We steer new players to WTR, and now it's not here anymore. So, like, what's the plan, right? What's the plan? And that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. So, I mean, we can, you know, I mean, you guys are, if you're here, you already know what's going on, right? I mean, we can go through the art. I don't really want to go through the article, right? But I mean, the main thing here is WTR is officially out of print. They will not be reprinting it again. The last is on its way to distributors now, as with all Flesh and Blood. Cards originally printed in WTR may be reprinted in future sets, and I'm hoping that also means or future releases, and that's relevant for what I want to talk about next, right? And yes, they have the big release, or not release, they have the big anti-release, the big farewell party coming in January. Seems to be what everybody's excited about right now. So another part of this, just kind of a side note, not really totally relevant, but the amount of traffic on this today, at least from, I mean, like I said, I've been sick and kind of unplugged. But the amount of traffic on this seems a lot lower than I thought it should have been. Like compared to the Arcane announcement, like traffic's pretty low. So, I mean, I think it's a byproduct of the fact that I think almost everybody knew this was coming. I'm still really, but I think that's the thing is the timing of this is interesting. It's interesting. So, I mean, first, yeah. So one thing another thing we should talk about is, I talked about my Arcane Rising video that I released, and basically my takeaway from that was that it was an altogether positive response, right? It's not that I wanted Arcane Rising to go OP, that wasn't the case, but I could kind of see the end goal there, right? And we talked a lot about the breakdown of number of M's and the right, because that's supers and Majestics. Majestics were hard to get. And then the legendaries there, the legendaries and the Majestics being Command and Conquer were pushing prices down. And it was really kind of screwing up like the secondary market, which was affecting, people's willingness to open product, right? I mean, that's real stuff. And again, I know I'm talking finance and all that, but like it matters, right? It does matter in like the total amount of product being opened, which matters to LSS because they like to make money, right? So it's relevant. But anyway, to that end, I do acquiesce here that my general reaction to this announcement may seem a bit hypocritical to that end, compared to the Arcane Rising. And I do get why it might seem that way, but I don't think it is, right? And it's because the two products offer something very different. And even more than that, I believe they represent something very different to the FAB community, right? It was, it wasn't that Arcane Rising was super complicated or anything, but it was that base, WTR is that base set. It's the fundamental part of the game that like really got us started. And again, it was very rare that some people like, oh, you should go start. I mean, they'd say go start with the first two sets, granted. But most of the time they're like, yeah, go start with the Warrior or whatever, right? So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. It's like I do acknowledge that my reaction to Arc was overall positive-ish, and here is overall negative-ish, right? So, and I get that they're fundamentally the same thing, but again, I think they're not. But anyway. So let's talk about, kind of the financial thing I was talking about. Let's talk fundamentally about, why they might be doing this right now. And the answer is very clearly what I'll put up across the screen right now is TCG Player. So I took this from TCG Player today. This is the legendaries and the, notice there's 15, there's the 10 Majestics and the 5 legendaries. And, the prices are not great, right? You have E-Strike at 55, Tomes at 24, but like, look at some of the key specializations. Like, Dorinthea Steelblade Supremacy is $2. Glint the Quicksilver is like 4 and change, right? And so why does this, why does that matter? I mean, great. It's great for players that it's so low, right? But I mean, fundamentally, you have to think about this. What's the motivation for someone to open a box to sell it for singles? I mean, you'd have to get pretty lucky. Again, these are the Majestics, right? You're looking at 2 of these per box. And like, if the 2 big hits are like $1 or $2 a piece, you better hope that you hit well, right? So there's just no reason right now for people to open these, really. And I mean, yeah, it is a byproduct of their rarity system, right? Their rarity system is great for sales because you have to chase them and you have to buy a bunch of stuff to get them. But the byproduct of that is that the lower rarities, even in the Majestics at this point, I mean, unless it's a good Majestic, the byproduct of that is a very depressed lower tiers, right? So, and that's what happens after something's been out a long time is that, well, it just, I mean, you're looking at it, right? You're looking at it. So anyway, that's why. Now, Doesn't mean I like it, right? I'm just saying I get it. Okay, so moving on. So kind of what I've been talking about. Sorry for the stutters here, right? But we've taken away our primary new player pipeline. I mean, I think I've made my position on that clear. Now, again, it may or may not matter. Fine. It does matter. You may or may disagree that it matters to the extent that I do. And fair enough, that's your position, right? Now, I have no doubt that there's a product coming. Actually, so I want to go ahead and show this right now. This is, you'll notice, so Everfest. So what we're looking at is upcoming product. We know Everfest is coming out in January, right? It might be beginning of February. And then we have the new booster set coming out in Q2. Those have been coming out kind of in like mid-spring, right? Or at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And, but there's that other thing on there, which is question mark, right? So you'll notice that what I'm hoping is that question mark is some sort of new player entry or starter set or whatever, right? Some sort of fixed product type deal, right? Whether it be, think about it this way, right? How cool would it be if you could go buy this, right? I mean, just some art I made up, right? But if you could go buy a playable classic constructed deck of Dorinthea or Bravo or whomever, right? And it would have, maybe you have to go buy 2 of them to get up, maybe there's only 2 of each Majestic that's in there. But like, what a great way to kind of back pump in those Majestic cards from the first set that aren't the non-critical ones, right? So like, obviously no one's asking for CNC and E-Strike to be pumped into these products. But what if that was the way? What if that's the way they're doing it, right? So that's what I would love to see. Now, I've also talked before. I'd love to see like a 2-player starter set or something like that. Maybe they have 2 2-player starter sets. You have a Dorinthea Bravo and you have a Katsu Rhinar or whatever it may be, right? But taking advantage of that question mark, that's going to be really the sign to success here, or not the sign to success, but that's really going to give us what I think that those of us who are concerned about WTR going out of print, I think the reason is for the new player pipeline. And if this product can fulfill it, then I think we're gold. I think it'll be fine. Then we come to the timing. I mean, that's, again, kind of the big deal here is why in the world would they announce WTR going away without having that product announced? I mean, kind of fundamental to my position on CRU, like, it's another one of those things. And hey, guys, at least I'm consistent, right? When I'm talking about these, I'm like, I don't understand why you announce it. Like, just don't print anymore and don't announce it. Because what would have happened is there wouldn't have been a run on product, right? And to be fair, maybe there won't be, right? But let's say they just stop printing WTR. Eventually, it's going to titrate out. And like, maybe we could have made it to Q2 2022 when this new product hit. But instead, they came out and they made this announcement. Now everyone's thinking that there's no new player product anymore, right? So again, I have no question. And you know what? Maybe the standalone booster set is basically like another dumbed down, right? But like, maybe it's another basic type set. Like maybe it's like, welcome to some other land or something, right? I mean, it could be. I doubt it will be. I think they're going to keep playing on that talents thing pretty well. And, there's a lot of other growth and power creep discussions they have there, but not today. But maybe that sets it. But you see what I'm saying, right? Without having it announced as what it's going to be, without having people knowing that there's going to be some pipeline, I just can't get on board with this one, right? Again, I get the Arcane thing. I get why they might eventually. I mean, I get why they'd want WTR to go away. I mean, we just talked about it. They don't want to keep printing something that they can't sell. But then again, that's the thing. They don't have to keep printing it. Like, they don't, and by that I don't like, they don't have to keep like physically making the cards. They can just keep it in print, not physically make the cards, and then you don't have stock to worry about. You can repurpose your printers for other things, right? So, again, I don't get it. But either way, it's not for me to get, right? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I get it or not. But what does matter is that it's very clear to me. Well, what matters to me is that it's very clear that there's no new player friendly product today, right? And we don't have, right? And here's the thing, right? Even if they announce, like, let's say they announce a new player thing tomorrow, we still won't have that new player product until, like, let's say tomorrow they announce that, question mark is their new player product, which would be great, right? We're going to get exactly what Andrew wants. We're going to get a 2-player set. We're going to get some of these starter decks that are super awesome. Sweet. It's the ideal product for starter entry. It's like going to the store and buying a commander deck for $50 or whatever. Perfect product. Anyway, end of rant. It's still not going to be here until then, right? Now, completely fair. Welcome. There will probably be WTR. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on what the speculators do, right? But it is possible that there will be WTR on the shelves for a while. But the fact is, we can't guarantee that. And I don't know. It just feels bad, right? Because it feels like we have this potentially huge gap with no friendly entry point. And certainly when we try to steer players to these newer heroes, like, do you really feel that you can do that now? Like, maybe today, but like in a month or two, are you really going to feel like you can steer your new players to like a WTR hero when you know it's going out of print and you don't know what's coming out of that? I don't think you can, right? I don't know. I mean, maybe. It depends on where they're coming in terms of how much money they want to spend and stuff too, right? I mean, that's all fine and dandy. So anyway, I mean, I think that's really it. I think it's really it. I mean, I think we've talked about it, talked in circles, and I'm really curious to know what you guys are thinking about it as well. I mean, I don't think there's any like conspiracy or like bad, like I don't think this is the same. I don't think this is the same as the CRU one. Like the CRU, they very clearly tried to make a run on product. The ARC one, I think, made sense. This one, I think, will make sense in the long run. I just think the timing of it doesn't. But I'm very curious to hear what you guys think as well, right? Especially because everyone has different backgrounds, different perspectives. And also, am I wrong about? I very well could be wrong about my take on Fab's pipeline. Right? Maybe the right way to bring new players into Fab isn't to try and get new players. Maybe it's to try to do converted players. Maybe that's the best way. I don't know. And if we're doing that, then maybe a new, maybe the dumbed down version of the game, maybe it doesn't matter. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. So anyway, I think that'll do it today. I just want to close with this, right? I do in my heart believe that there's a really solid long-term plan. Like LSS has demonstrated time and time again that they have a grasp on things. So I believe in my heart there's a long-term plan. It's just hard to see what that is right now, right? And granted, that's not our job. It's not our job to know what their forecast is. But when we can't see what the end goal is, and there's going to be pressure put on us as community leaders and as players on trying to grow our communities in the meantime, it's also fair that we're concerned about it, right? So again, it doesn't mean this is not the end of the world. It's not, but it's not great, right? And I think that's fair, right? So is it the death of the game? Hell no, absolutely not. But it is going to cause people on the front lines issues until something else comes out. All right. So anyway, that's just the way I see it. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Thank you very much for tuning in. I made it through this whole thing without sneezing or coughing. Can you believe that? Thumbs up. All right. Anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight. And if nothing else, go Commando.